Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter, and welcome to the probably final story for the base game of Soul Sacrifice, which is The Memories Remain. This is a very meaty chapter. It's going to be a heck of a story and quite a journey, and I figure it's fitting to do this final chapter in the base game as sort of Sortiara. And there is a way you can get her costume, so to say, if you sacrifice her 5 times. Mad Witch, see? Whoa, no. Yeah, this is the Mad Witch. I'm mad. Mother said I was Mad Witch, so I'm mad. No, this. Sortiara. So they made me take her down 5 times. If you are playing as a man, there's outfits that are specific. Obviously, the costumes are fitted to the different model, because they're different models for male and female. But you can switch your gender at any time. It's a very fluid game, which is good. And we'll put that on there. Do we want accessories? We can go without a hood, but we really don't look like Sortiara at that point, do we? We can... We're the handler from Monster Hunter World. Hey, Pard! You notice I'm 32-14 now. One of the reasons is because I actually went and I beat... I challenged Magusar and I beat him. I'm not going to show it on this one, though. I want to save that for the ending, which might be this episode, actually. I can't remember, which is good. So, let's do this.
Magusar was gone. I wonder where he is now. After Ilicibra's sacrifice, he absorbed her memories and saw himself detached from all he had been. He had possessed the twin gifts of clairvoyance and eternal life. Magusar was gone. I wonder where he is now. After Ilicibra's sacrifice, he absorbed her memories and saw himself detached from all he had been. He told me that there had once lived a man named Magusar. He had possessed the twin gifts of clairvoyance and eternal life. Ilicibra's memories revealed an incredulous past. My partner finished revealing the truth to me, then left. Now, I was on his trail. I had one final thing I wished to share with him.
And... I'm just going to explain this really fast, even though it's better to just show it. But I'm using 2 claws now. And the idea is that the Chthonian claws are just like crazy. 160, like it's just unbelievable. You attack with that and you do a 4-hit combo, but you can end it at 3 and combo straight into using another claw, which is the Cat Sith ones, which are really good. Very low life drain, very good damage, lots of hits, very fast. And in order to counterbalance the fact that I'm losing health, I'm pairing it up with a Regenesis Seed. So this is one that you can fuse together to make, and what it does is it just gradually recovers your health over a period of time, which means that it only lasts for 35 seconds, but it's basically going to offset any loss from the blood weapons. So it's a really good and powerful combo, so powerful that I think it practically breaks the game. But you know what? That's okay. Since this is the final base episode, and I feel kind of sad about that, let's go ahead and read the lore for the Poseidon Inn. There was once a man on the verge of throwing himself off a cliff into the ocean. His business had gone badly, and he was drowning in debt. In the place he went to end it all, a giant monster was set to dwell, and so no one frequented the place. The man prepared for the end. Suddenly, a jet of water shot up from the ocean, and a dark mass surfaced. The monster had appeared. When he looked closer, the man realized it was not a monster after all, but a giant whale. At some point, people must have seen this whale and mistaken it for a monster, and so the rumors spread. The man who had been ready to end his life now stood transfixed by the majesty of the sight before him. What he felt was not fear. He felt profoundly moved by the beauty of what he was witnessing. Perhaps he was the only person alive who had ever seen this extraordinary sight. People had believed these ridiculous rumors and avoided this place, but they had missed out. The man's instincts as a merchant began to stir. There's money in this, he thought. For lack of money, he himself created a long bench and placed it on the edge of the cliff overlooking the ocean. He headed to the nearest city and began touting for business, saying that he could show them a sight that would change their lives. He told them where they could see the whale and asked for a small fee in exchange. Many were too afraid to go near a place teeming with so many stories, but for others, curiosity got the better of them. They paid the man and went to see for themselves. All who witnessed the sight were mesmerized. Word soon spread and people flocked to the spot the man had discovered. He used the money he made to build a small hut on the cliff's edge. He now had an inn. With somewhere to stay, people came from far and wide. The man was now racking in the money. He was able to pay off his debts in no time. His success had taught him something. This place had once been feared and none dare approach, and so it had remained unknown and unspoiled. He could see that, for some, the whale could indeed appear a terrifying monster, yet he had managed to sell it as a sight of stunning natural beauty, so that people began to view it with wonder. He had been able to turn something negative into a positive. The man decided he had hit upon a winning formula for making money, and so his wealth and success grew. So too did the inn, ever grander until it resembled nothing less than an imposing castle. The man had reached his peak. He was riding the crest of a wave. His success had been rapid, but so too was his decline. The man thought he had grasped the secret of success, yet there was more for him to learn, and he would soon be taught how harsh the market can be. People began to tire of the whale. Those who came to see the sight would leave satisfied, but they did not tend to return. The number of visitors dwindled over time, and the man's inn fell into disrepair. He tried various other money-making schemes, but nothing came of them. Another harsh lesson. Sometimes nothing can be done to save a business in decline. To make matters worse, the man was used to living a life of luxury, buying only the best and eating and drinking extravagantly. Though his profits plummeted, he continued to live in the style to which he was accustomed, and he was loath to let it go. The man continued to live the high life even as his debts mounted, and this led him back to where he started. Drowning in debt, the man decided to throw himself into the ocean. The whale surfaced just as it had before, but this time there was not to be any revelations. This time he was really going to go through with it. As he plunged himself into the water, the man saw an extraordinary sight. He saw coral reefs and shoals of brightly colored fish swimming amongst them. He felt profoundly moved, just as he had been when he first saw the whale. He was witnessing something no one else had seen. If he could just build an inn down here beneath the waves. As the drowning man thought this, he saw a curious sight, a chalice that seemed to be speaking to him. It told him to pay the price. If he did so, his wish would be granted. The man obeyed. The sea parted, leaving a strip of exposed seabed between two walls of water. Now people could stand on the seabed and witness the extraordinary sight of the coral with the shoals of fish swimming around it. There was even an inn within the body of the giant whale. The whale was still alive, its mouth ever open to allow people to enter. The interior of the whale was stunning, adorned with beautiful coral ornaments. Everything was in place for the guests who would come to a feast on the ocean's riches. The man had succeeded in getting his business up and running once more, but there was something missing. The man was nowhere to be seen. While making the sea part, the man had been forced to swallow vast quantities of seawater. His bloated form now floated far beyond the horizon where no one could see him. This was the price the man had paid. As he bobbed on the surface of the water, the man had plenty of time to reflect on all he had learned. Yet another valuable lesson in the world of business. If you want something, you always have to pay the price. That's a neat story. Also, he shouldn't have been living beyond his means, so to say. Okay, so we got a harpy. This should be pretty easy. Let's go and smack the harpy around, shall we? The ultimate black right, to take the life of another in order to prolong your own. It is already little more than a memento. A black right influences my partner's body, one that grants him eternal life, though it was not he who performed the rite. Look at the nice inn inside the ocean. Inside the whale. It's nice. Okay, well. Oh, we got another NPC. Sweet. Eldeed. Is that cat snacking on this? You stop it! Get off him.
Make up your mind.
Punk. I mean, do they look tasty?
Can't move.
No, not really, but I will save them. I am a woman of sanctuary. Don't sound like a woman, though. Manslayer. Life essence gain. Okay, so he's a manslayer, whatever that means.
Sacrifice them all, that's what I say.
See, I'm using all my life with this blood spell, and I completely forgot about that, so let me quick dope up. Heal myself and get my plus 200 attack. Ching! Okay, let's buff up so I can just end this. We have a thing here. We do not destroy the apples. Does the harpy not know? Did she not get the memo? Like, that's the one thing I will not forgive. You do not hurt the apples. That's it. We have to kill the harpy now. Can't let it live.
Hey, keep your guard up, you hear?
That's right. That's what you get. Touching my apples. Let's continue on.
The truth had been cruel. There had once lived a man named Magusa. He sacrificed scores of victims in order to remain ever young. Then a nameless sorcerer defeated Magusa, ridding the world of this baneful threat. By all rights, that evil sorcerer Magusa should have died at the hands of this nameless hero. The man who had traveled with me for so long and who said his name was Magusa, just who was he? My partner's face filled with anguish and confusion, as though on the verge of madness. One day, until the end of the world. At the time of this writing, the world was starting to show signs. It was the beginning of the end. And it was linked to the man who had disappeared. You are not far from the truth now. He said that the nameless hero who defeated Magusa used the sacred chalice to revive the victims. The sacrifice he offered up was the body of the fallen Magusa. The world was restored, but the sorcerer went mad, burdened by the curse of Magusa. Magusa's spirit now dwelt within his right arm. The force of Magusa's presence overwhelmed the hero's mind, and he began to believe he was Magusa. The former Magusa had affected his body, granting him eternal life. He came to view his immortality as something that he was born with. Weary of the burden this immortality placed on his body, he went in search of the sacred chalice. And then he met me.
The story is getting deep. I know where it goes, so I'm not going to make too many comments on the story because I don't want to give any hints. But we're back into Poseidon Inn, a nice cozy place against one of my least favorite monsters to hunt, which is the Cyclops. The man's memories become even more confused. When I think back to the day I first met him, little of him remains. I do not wish for eternal life, Magasar would say. An ordinary body, that is all. There we go. Nice and easy. Blood spam, baby.
From the beginning, he called himself Magusar. He really believed that this was his name. But he was not Magusar. He was a nameless sorcerer condemned to live Magusar's life. Illicebra had been right all along. Now that I think about it, she had never even referred to him by name. She had been his true partner. She had been his partner long before he came to believe he was Magusar. As my partner related the truth to me, what pained him most was when he spoke of Illicebra. Yet he had forgotten that she, his true love, even existed. It must have pained her so.
This is all my fault.
That is how he said it. One day, until the end of the world. Are you shocked? He was not Magusar in the first place. He thought that he was misled by the effects of the sacrifice. Who would not lose their mind learning such a thing? The nameless sorcerer that had been Illecebra's partner was now mine, however murky his memories might now be. Our encounter, our journey, none of it happened by chance. It was all linked to a history, a bond that traced back to the past. Sortiara, now part of my arm, had inherited every last bit of Illicebra. A fleeting reunion. Long ago, two sorcerers took a journey together. Their memories, and the memories of those that they absorbed, have become our own, taking root in the subconscious. Does this make our bond, in part, the bonds of other individuals altogether? When I finally found my partner, he was in a terrible state. Clearly, quite some time had passed since his last sacrifice. Only a sacrifice could save him. I went and sought such a beast. I had something I had to share with my partner. I needed to say what I could not say to Saltiara. She had died before I could tell her how I felt. I would never repeat this mistake. I would refuse to allow my partner to die before I had done this. This I vowed.
It makes sense. It's so much better than the Hollywood writing where, like, villains have to have their monologue before they do something crazy or just, you know, like, padding without explanation. At least now we have context of the reason of why he's so hesitant to let Magusar die, even though he knows that that's not really his partner. Well, it is, but like there's a soul in there that's taken over his body, is because he's so tormented by not speaking his feelings to Sortiara that he just, you know, conditions be damned, he can't do it. So we're going up against the Jack-o'-lantern. I'm not going to read the story on Mount Helios. I'm just picking up a few stories here and there for filler, and otherwise it's just going to be rereading stories for half of the video, which wouldn't be very fun. I looked for a sacrifice. I had to save my partner's life. Memories of our journey, of the time we'd spent together, flashed through my mind. I understand now why I've always felt so close to Magusar, why it felt like we already knew each other. I'm being influenced by Elisabre's memories. Her replica dwells within my right arm, after all. The other's memories toyed with me. What are my own thoughts, my own volition? The truth is... Da-da-da-da. My name is Gaijin Hunter, and I make Monster Hunter videos, but I love this game. That's the truth. Okay, so we got a new NPC. Let's go ahead and save him.
Sorry.
Down by a couple of spiders. Not a very strong NPC, I would achieve. We're gonna fight in the magma. How epic is that? Don't try it. I've got the high ground. You lied to me. So one cool thing with the shields, if you have them on, you have a thing called a shockwave. I'm gonna use that to try to get out the arm.
What good will come from all this killing?
Nope. Oh, he's dying. Cool. Let's sacrifice him. Show you what that looks like. Oh, that hurt me. Where's the boss? Wait, are you not? Is he not getting messed up by the guy? There he goes. Oh, that was late. Where is he? There he is. So he's... he did. You know, it's kind of poetic that the soul that we're going to give Magusar is a jack-o'-lantern. As if you remember, the story of the jack-o'-lanterns are that these are warriors who fell fighting, and their fight was not over. They were not given a proper death. And so the magic lingers on. And it's like the nameless sorcerer who killed Magusar got overtaken. So he's kind of like a jack-o'-lantern, right? It's kind of poetic. I don't know if that's accidental or I'm just imposing my own kind of thoughts on it. Okay, now we're finally getting into gold stuff, so that's cool. I like gold.
I carried my aged partner to where the dying monster lay. Although he was fading in and out of consciousness, I forced him to share in the sacrifice. When he came to, he said,
Leave me alone. I no longer know who I am. The life I have led, who did it belong to? Magusar? The nameless sorcerer who slayed him? Or did it belong to another? I no longer remember my real name.
It was a cry for help. But I answered. So what? I had to say it. Words I could not tell Sortiara. And so, I faced my beloved partner and screamed. I don't know. I don't know if you're Magusar, and I don't care. If you want to know who you are, then I'll tell you. You're my partner. You're my companion. Not the memories of the nameless sorcerer, or of Illicebra, or her offspring. I would have strayed from the path of a humble sorcerer. The time we spent together. Those memories only belong to you and I. The silence continued, and then I heard him mutter something.
Thank you.
I spilled my emotions to him. And then it began. Without warning, he burst into hysterical laughter. Fate had made fools of us both. That was all there was to be said. It was he who saw it. A curious white shining goblet. One day, until the end of the world. Thoughts were shared, and our author spoke freely. Their kindred spirits had never lingered so close. What strange and cruel fate that this should trigger the end of this very world. This was it. The sacred chalice we had longed to find. Why did it appear to him alone? For one's wish to be granted, one must always pay the price. This was all that was required to obtain the chalice. It was simpler than we'd thought. If you can just satisfy that one condition, it will appear to you. It must have been the aura around the legendary artifact. Before we knew it, monsters had closed in.
Oh, they're going to make me fight a phoenix as I wait for this epic conclusion. So the chalice has appeared to Magusar. We spilled out our heart, had a moment with him. And they're going to ruin the pacing with a phoenix. Thanks. I don't think I've actually read the lore on Phoenix, so let's go and do that. There was once a girl who lived a simple and austere life, as instructed by her parents. Her father was a former soldier who had taken to drinking too much and was now barely able to move. Her mother made potions from the wings of moths, an occupation that caused many to view her with suspicion. Desperate to avoid prying eyes, the family set up home in a remote, dilapidated cottage several miles from the nearest town. As soon as the girl was of age, her mother taught her how to make potions. After all, they needed the money from selling these potions to support her father's habit. Her father worked her mother to the bone, supporting his drinking. Her mother in turn treated her daughter as a slave. In such a situation, the girl couldn't even imagine falling in love, let alone marriage. Her parents had forbidden her from even talking to anybody of the opposite sex. And of course, she was always busy working. One day, a traveler visited the family home. Laying eyes on the daughter, he immediately fell in love with her. They tried to elope, but the girl's parents caught them before they could flee. The girl was confined to the house. The travelers soon gave up on her and left the area, shattering the girl's once and only chance of happiness. The girl's parents grew old and eventually passed away. As the only family they had, it fell to the daughter to inherit the potion business. This weighed heavily on the daughter, now an adult. The potions her mother made were hallucinogens. Now she understands why her parents had hidden themselves away from the world. Along with the family business, her parents had bequeathed her a great deal of guilt. She was a grown woman now, however. She could not undo what had gone before. Much as it pained her, the potions were her only way of making a living. Just as her mother before her, she would spend her days breeding moths in a little hut, using their tiny scales to create hallucinogenic concoctions. A life of isolation awaited her too. Decades had passed since the woman's parents had died, and she was now grown old herself. Her skin covered in unsightly wrinkles. One night, as she laid staring at a candle at her bedside table, the woman began thinking, "Mine has been a joyless life. I've never known happiness." Overcome with self-pity and despair, the woman decided to burn down the hut in which she bred the moths. She would be inside it when it burned. The flames would eventually put her out of her misery. As the flames began to take hold around her, the woman stood alone in the moth's hut, waiting to die. Just then, a curious white light appeared. A chalice was floating in front of her. It spoke. "I can give you what you desire. Simply pay an appropriate price." The woman looked frantically about the hut for something to make a suitable offering. There was nothing of value. Certainly nothing valuable enough to fulfill her desire. At that moment, a man burst into the hut. The woman was taken aback by the sight of the soot-stained intruder. It was the traveler, the one who had abandoned her all those years ago. He had not forgotten her, and after spending so long apart, he had finally decided to come back for her. He jumped into the fire to rescue the old woman. Though older than he'd been when they first met, the traveler looked the woman in his arms in an effort to carry her out of the hut. The woman gazed into the traveler's face and smiled. She had finally found something she could offer to the chalice. The woman had courage in her conviction. Their bodies became enveloped in the flame. Soon enough, they both had turned to ash, as had the hut in which they had stood. The ash started to come together. Moments later, a girl appeared. It was a rebirth. The woman who was young once more. She had been born again. The air was filled with the joyful laughter of the woman, or rather, the joyful laughter of a young girl. Now she could start again. She could live a different life. She headed for the nearby town, and after finding a place to stay, she started working in a shop. She soon became a firm favorite with the customers. Her joy was not to last, however. The effects of her rejuvenation were only temporary, and after a while she began to age once more, and rapidly. The woman was devastated. She was still unsatisfied. She had been able to reclaim her lost life. She decided to undertake another rebirth. It was simple enough. She would find someone else to sacrifice, and the rejuvenating flames would be sure to restore her youth once more. As soon as she found someone suitable, she followed them home, burning down their house with them both inside it. They were both turned to ash, and from this ash the woman was reborn for a second time. She found a way to retain her youth. The woman became very sensitive to any signs of aging, and soon as she saw, she would rush back to the embrace of the rejuvenating flames. Before long, the rapid succession of rebirths she was experiencing were actually causing her to become younger. After a while, she had regressed to a pre-pubescent teenager. She also began to change in other, very striking ways. Her latest rebirth had her seeing the adopted characteristics of another creature, a moth. Her first rebirth had been from the ashes of the moth's hut, and this was starting to make itself apparent in the woman's body. It was as though the moths were taking their revenge. The woman started to panic. She had only just managed to escape from the drudgery of her life spent among moss, and now the blighted creatures were causing her to suffer once more. In an attempt to erase her new moth-like features, the woman decided to undergo another rebirth. But the opposite happened. The more rebirths she experienced, the more moth-like she became. What's more, this constant rejuvenation was causing her to become younger and younger. By now, she was little more than an infant. She was also aging faster than ever. One minute, she was muling a child, the very next she was an old lady once more. She continued to put her faith in the flames, however. She began to subject herself to the rejuvenation ever more frequently. After a while, the process became a constant. The woman was permanently engulfed in flames, aging at an incredible speed before immediately being reborn again. She alternated between two extreme states, newborn baby and decrepitude. Having transcended death, there is no doubt that she continues to roam the world to this day, engulfed in her rejuvenating flames, continuously reborn, a life that has no end. That's dark. It's dark. Okay, cool story though. So let's arm ourselves. Death of allies. So if you remember in the last one, I sacrificed an NPC that I had come across. So all you have to do is press the triangle button and I can undo the death. It does require 35 lacrium though. Do I really want to do that right now? I do not have a lot of lacrium. Nah, stay dead. I feel so bad saying it, but if I don't have the juice, I don't have the juice, you know what I mean? Okay, let's kill the Phoenix. We got some experience boosters. Let's put some more on. Alright. We were never meant to find it. It is as though this had already been predetermined by the chalice itself, as though it makes its own decisions about who is worthy of its aid. Every wish comes at a price. If one is prepared to pay, a chalice appears before them. But what of the price Megasar must pay? Is he going to sacrifice me? And for what? Kill everybody? Seems kind of lopsided, but then again I am a pretty cool character, so maybe not. Dope. I'll start using different stuff later on in the game, I promise. You see this epic shockwave? Where that comes from is if you put on a fire shield while you have fire armor on, or for any of the elements for that matter. Oh, she's being reborn? You can't see it. You get this huge shield, and it's got this epic shockwave, which is like really powerful. I'll do it again so you can see it. Oh, and it charged right into it. Oh, idiot. This wing. Don't die. Don't break at your face. Come on. Shield. Did I make it in time? Yes. Shield. Oh, and she died. Get away from me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Get away from me!
Please.
I like how the goblins in this stage have like bottles of alcohol. Sort of goes in line with the story of the girl and her horrible parents, or her horrible father for that matter.
He had found it, at last. The price that matched his wish.
You are my faithful ally, but much more, you are my friend.
He spoke directly to me. I had spoken my true feelings, and they were accepted. With that, it all became clear. What he most desired was a normal body. I stood beside him, his irreplaceable companion. Now the scales were balanced. I never thought it would end like this. Sacrificing myself could ensure my partner's wish was granted. I had realized the truth. The apocalypse now close at hand. No amount of searching led to the sacred chalice. It only appeared before those who met certain conditions. As if the sacred chalice had a will of its own. Go on. You've almost reached the end. Does he have any doubts about this? Does he find himself torn? If he did, then maybe there is hope for me yet. There lies a beast within the hearts of men. A beast called greed. But now I saw that he had chosen to fulfill his desire. He had made his choice to sacrifice me, his true partner. I too would not be slain without putting up a fight. It was no performance this time. This time, a fight to the death. Just like it was with Sortiara. The moment I become close to somebody, I must kill them. How many times will I be forced to go through this?
Foreshadowing. Alright. Magasar, defeat your enemy and live on. So he has decided he's going to try to kill me and give me up so he can have a normal body. Thanks. I pour my heart out to you. Now that you know that I actually love you as a friend. Now he knows how important I am to him and he is to me. And thus the chalice comes up and does its devious crap, which is like, hey, why don't you sacrifice the really important thing you got there, buddy? Dumb chalice. To age like any other, to die like any other, the life that others take for granted, he craves with every fiber of his being. There was once a wicked sorcerer who sacrificed a great number of souls, absorbing their abilities in his victims. One of these abilities allow him to see into the future. I'll let this play out. It really is the ending to Star Wars, isn't it? The bridges, the magma, and everything.
You are my partner, and for that alone, you should be willing to die for me.
What warped logic is that? You must be willing to die for it. Let's see, does this new evil Magasar want to kill the apples? Don't do it. Bait him over here. Aha. Let's bait him over here. That's right. Down it. Boom. You are dead, my friend.
You know exactly what it is that I desire. I never asked for these special powers. All I ever wanted was an ordinary body.
Back here. Well, that was easy. Ha 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 ha! Sortiara kicks your butt. How ironic is that?
It's happening again, just like with Sortiara. The only way to survive is to inflict pain on your own allies. Sacrificing an ally to save oneself is no enviable task. This has been on my mind since the day that I sacrificed Sortiara. I face my enervated partner. He stared at me agog. He could not believe what I had said. I had chosen to willingly sacrifice myself. Ever since I had lost Sortiara, I could not forget her smile. I hoped that I might find her, despite knowing she would never return. The burden of killing another partner I could not bear. My partner stood up. I signaled him, and he raised his hand to me. The last thing I saw before my world faded to black was my partner's face streaked with tears. And then, the world came to an end.
Your wish will be granted, but you must sacrifice an ally. So, what would you do? Well, this is what he did.
I was not sacrificed. Something stopped him from going through with it. I saw him walk away without saying a word, leaving me alone. And then, without warning, the world was turned upside down.
Two forces had always fought for dominance within my partner.
There was no way that one man could cope with this conflict. So it has come to pass, just as he said it would. He said a cursed sorcerer would wreak havoc on this world. I cannot stand by and let this happen. Preventing the end of the world. That has always been our goal, though things may have changed. We made a promise. I have not forgotten.
And a very random Hydra pops up. Okay. Let's read the lore of Hydra. I know it's going to be killing you not to get to the conclusion of this. Once, a great swordsman was born to this severely impoverished land. To support his family, he worked as a mercenary. The swordsman was blessed with a rare ability, his dexterous hands. He was able to manipulate swords as if they were part of his body, and he fought to provide for his poor family. To support them, he would need a reputation, and for a reputation, many victories. For victories, it was necessary to slay a great many foes. And so, the sword technique he devised was the practical application of his necessities. To support them, he would need a reputation, and for a reputation, many victories. For victories, it was necessary to slay a great many foes. And so, the sword technique he devised was a practical application of his necessities. To defeat many enemies at once, and thereby achieve many victories at once, he used many swords at once. You may be imagining him with a sword in each hand at this moment, but this wasn't so. The swordsman's technique was to use 3 or more swords at the same time. Witnesses to his technique likened it to an acrobatic juggling tricks, and so became known as the sword juggling style. To opponents on the battlefield, his technique was utterly unpredictable, and countless bodies lay in his wake. Before long, soldiers would flee in fear when they heard of the swordman's coming. One day, a general, fearing the swordsman, schemed to defeat him. Deciding it unwise to face the swordsman head-on, he resorted to deceit. He bribed a comrade in arms of the swordsman to poison his evening meal. The virulent poison was created from the gallbladders of venomous snakes and brought the swordsman to death's door. For 3 days and 3 nights he convulsed in agony, but the swordsman survived. However, even after recovery, numbness pervaded his body. Neither his arms nor legs could move as they once had. His feared and respected technique was forever lost. The swordsman grieved mightily. The perfection of his technique had become his very reason to live. Of all the things he valued, he had been most proud of his skill and renowned on the battlefield. The fact that his endeavors had brought his family out of poverty brought him no comfort at all. His was an irreplaceable loss. Despairingly, the swordsman prepared to throw himself into the sea and end it all. But just then, a strange sight befell his eyes. A chalice hung in the air before him and spoke, "Pay the price, and I shall grant your wish." Entranced by the vision, he decided to obey the voice and named his offering. In truth, the swordsman's decision was at odds with his original objective. What had once been a means to fulfill his objective had now become the objective, and the objective became the means. The swordsman had honed his technique in order to provide for his family, but now he had lost his technique. He offered his family a sacrifice to regain it. Walking the line between life and death on the battlefield had corrupted his soul. True to his wish, the swordsman's body changed. New arms grew from his poison-ravaged belly. Perhaps influenced by the poison, the new arms were shaped like snakes. Furthermore, the snakes' tongues were made of sharp blades. Body and mind were now united in the way of the sword. Elated, the swordsman returned to the fields of war. Warring soldiers were taken aback by the sudden appearance of this monster. The long, thick arms protruding from his belly presented tempting targets for his opponents, but new arms would grow back upon dismemberment. Moreover, where one had been severed, 2 would grow back in its place. And so it was that the warrior of 9 arms and 9 swords came to be. To his opponents, he was a nightmare given form. With new arms growing from his wounds, his strength only increased. No man could stand against him. The swordman's opponents were no more. Any who saw this monstrous form fled for their lives. What use were 9 swords with none to fight? In what use his newly perfected 9-sword juggling? And so even now the swordsman's cravings go unsatisfied. He awaits the arrival of a worthy opponent, and a chance to put his 9 swords to use. Well, we're going to give him just that, aren't we? My partner performs large-scale sacrifices wherever he goes now. People are consumed by fear, fleeing in blind panic. The destruction of the world is underway. I cannot be sure every memory recorded in this journal is my own. It's possible there are other people's memories in here as well, in which case, I cannot abandon him. That thought is all I have to cling to. Monsters lay in wait as I rush to his side. Okay, Mudman, show me your form. Woo! Look at that. Wait till you see this. Watch the arms just go. Ooh, they're growing back. Oh, he's doing his spinny, spinny, spin to win. Can you do that again for the camera, please? Spin for the camera. Oh, I don't have the shield on anymore. Why am I egging him on to spin and hit me when I don't have a shield on? That's so stupid. Fool. Man, that poison is brutal when mixed in with my life-sapping skills. What else do I have to? Good soul-sensing cat. It's a good boy. Oh, good gosh. Oh, Lord, he's coming. He's like a ballerina. I have to chop some heads. Save some lives. Oh, no! Disappears right as I need it. You there. Create weapon? No. Yes, renew offering power. That heals 2 usages. Uses. There we go. Look at all those swords. That would be terrifying on the battlefield, wouldn't it? Pretty girl? Burly guy? Oh, I forgot. This is not the doppelganger. This is the actual... You will benefit. Yeah. You better become my partner. I'll save him. I forgot. These are the actual people, I think. I don't think this is a doppelganger. All the other packs are doppelgangers, so like people that he's killed who have been touched by him. Sort of like vampires. Become other versions of the original. Back to the story.
I think back to all that we had faced together. My partner always by my side. Despite the burning lust in my right arm, making me more and more a monster. Only he could help me to forget the loss of Saltiara. If we had not met, I would have lost my humanity long, long ago. His presence had helped me time and time again. Now, it was my turn. I could not let my partner face this by himself. And so, I found him. Though nothing remained of the man I had known. The world had come to an end, yet true feeling still survived.
The author of this journal made a decision. The sorcerer's dear partner should not be left alone, human or not. They would be together, even in death.
But this was not the partner who had once stood beside me. Now, he was no more than a beast, though gifted with immortal power. It was excruciating to see him with his essence destroyed. I knew he would never be the same. I felt keenly how much he must be suffering. It was my duty to give him a death worthy of a man. Once I'd killed him, then I'd kill myself. For I could not leave him alone. We would die together. This is what I wished for us. Had Illicebra felt the same way? It was an odd connection to make, for I had killed the sorceress myself. It ends here. The last stop of our journey.
Okay, up against Magassar again. Let's do this. There's no rewards for this one, so let's do this. I must die alongside my partner. My determination is fueled by the intense pleading of Illicebra from within my right arm. She does not want him left alone. To save my partner, I had to free him from his internal life. I spoke to him thus. Let us die together. You are not alone. That's real love, man. Stick with them until the very end. No matter what. I bet you this place has a cool story behind it.
My body no longer obeys me. The evil within it awakes.
So he's having problem going to the bathroom, probably? Because his body no longer behaves. That's how I feel at my age. It's like 40 years old. I don't feel like my body is listening to me anymore. He's describing old age. More like being turned into a monster. What the heck? Oh, thanks for... I buffed for nothing. You just hit me once and I die? Punk? He hit me in the funny bone, I swear. Our Achilles heel. It was a fluke. He winded me, that was all. I think that was meant to happen. For narrative purposes.
My partner was an immortal beast. And still I chose to battle him. His strength was overwhelming, and my strength was waning. My arms were cut to shreds. My legs were sliced clean off. And yet I refused to yield. But this stubborn tenacity faltered. The monster that had once been my partner glared down on the bloody, bludgeoned mess I had become. Some dim consciousness must have stirred in the beast's mind. He poured some of his blood over me. Was the beast aware that this blood contained powers of eternal life? Through his blood, I had been saved. Why such kindness towards me? As I looked at the beast, I could not help but sense the presence of my former partner. I beg you, don't show me those traces of who you were. I charged headlong at the beast. But it ended the same way. I was torn to pieces, and again it poured its blood over me. The blood gave me near undying life and power. Why was this happening? Would this continue forever? The cycle went on. It went on and on. It continued again, over and over, and over and over. First the urge to kill, then a surge of mercy again and again. On and on it went. Day turned into night. Then became day again. Conflicting emotions churned in me, as if my heart might burst. Year after year. Year after year. Year after year after year. The years blent into one.
Yeah. How many times did we repeat this same routine? Did the monster still recognize me as his one-time partner? If he did, then all the more reason that we die together. I had to. I owed him that much. It was the least I could do for someone who had stayed by my side. Although the world had ended, still we lived on. And so it was that this world ended. But our story did not. There is still more to read. You've come this far. Keep on reading. Our battle went on endlessly. I was reduced to a bloody lump of flesh, incapable of movement. But I would not die. Magusar's blood had made me immortal. And in this condition, I came to know something. The utter despair of eternal life. Is this how Magusar suffered all this time? And if that is the case, then neither of us deserved to die alone. How could one bear to face eternity alone? At one point, ignoring my motionless, bleeding body, Magusar created magical creatures to serve him. Those creatures roamed the world, claiming people for their master. Magusar sacrificed those poor souls as if it were as normal as a man sitting down to dinner. He had become the master of the world, lord of all he saw. As time went by, Magusar became surrounded by his sacrificial victims and the cells built to house them. And then it struck me. Perhaps hope could be passed to these very victims. Perhaps then they could put an end to this eternity that we share. I wanted to communicate my thoughts to them somehow. To share my memories with them. These thoughts shot through my mind. My body began to transform. I took on a form more suited to transmitting my memories. If only there was someone who could comprehend my words and had the courage to face Magusar. I would share all that I can with my own sacrifice. The world had ended, but this sorcerer still clung to life. But to what end? Go ahead, read the postscript.
One last thing to be noted, my name, before I forget it. Forgetting one's existence, a fate worse than death. My name is Joffrey Libram.
This is how my life concluded. Now the decision is yours, whether to face Magosar or not. Although it's not my place, I must ask you, please, put my partner to rest. Kill Magosar. I beg you.
Woo! That's some pretty heavy stuff right there. I am going to probably do some heavy editing to this video because I don't want to split it into 2 parts, nor do I want it to be over 2 hours long because that's kind of crazy. So I think I'm going to cut out a good amount of the fights, and this is going to be more focused on story. And, you know, we'll get to some really awesome gameplay as the story continues. Because this is just the end of the base game. If you think this is the end of the rabbit hole and the end of surprises, you ain't seen nothing. There's so much more. So much more. But this is the base, and it's an incredible foundation, isn't it? Okay, because we're now at like the final fight at the end of the base game, and we have the ending, which of course is going to be long and cool, and we're going to have separate versions of it because there's some alternate paths that you can take. I'm going to show all of them, and so I'm just going to make that the next chapter in this playthrough. So please go ahead and just continue on to that one if you're interested in continuing the series. Or if not, come back to it at a later time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry for the heavy editing. It was about 2.5 hours of gameplay to get through that final chapter. It was very beefy, but also very fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and until next time, happy hunting.